So Bayo is here this morning. It's good to see you, Bayo.
Good to see you.
It's getting cold.
Yes. Good morning, Kinsley. Good morning.
Right, well, we'll say good morning to you, Bayo, but isn't particularly good morning in Niger State today,
It's
as
not.
you're aware.
Yes.
At the material time we were having Good Morning Nigeria, we didn't have a confirmation of what had transpired in Niger again with regard to the abduction, this time, of pupils at government science school. It's becoming one too many.
Yes.
Yeah.
One too many indeed. And
It's deja vu again.
Deja vu.
If we go back to Chibok, to Dapchi, to Buniyadi, Kankara, now Kagara.
And
incidentally, most of them are government science secondary schools.
yes.
If you recall, I had raised that at some point, but there seemed to have been, maybe, some experts were saying, just mere coincidence.
Yes.
But what is it about science secondary schools that make them such a target, as it were, for kidnappers? It's I don't know. It's pretty sad, but we'll see. Those are the headlines that you have in the papers this morning, and there's a lead story for the Punch newspaper, and it comes with a kicker. It says Niger school invasion. Bandits tied 42 abductees in pairs and fled to bush on motorbikes. That's according to one of the residents. Bandits tied 42 abductees in pairs and fled to bush on motorbikes. And Bayo, just before we take the other riders, this is also the first time in the course of the abduction of secondary school pupils that at least one of them, for those who were taken alive anyway, one of them, of course, is being killed. Yes. Buniyadi was bloody, no question about that. It was a boarding house. But for the ones that we have seen, whether it was Chibok or Kankara and now Kagara, I don't know. It's invaders kill student who raised the alarm, kidnapped 27 students and 15 workers. I've not heard anything about my daughter, father of abducted worker. Rise up, fight bandits and kidnappers back, Defense Minister tells Nigerians. You can see the signboard there of the Government Science College, Kagara, established 1969. And then, it's also, take a look at the ceiling. Was that the result of the abduction? That's the way the school always looked. In the first instance, quite clearly, you can see the ceiling there is caving in, and it seemed probably not so conducive for learning. Now, below that, you have the following headlines. 302 special police squad deployed in Kaduna against bandits. Man remanded for alleged rape and impregnating Katsina 16-year-old girl. IG drafts 150 anti-kidnapping forces in FCT. Power grid collapses, plunges Lagos and others into darkness. Hisba panel probes official caught with housewife in Kano hotel. That's to say, Hisba panel probes official caught with housewife in Kano hotel. 42 billion naira federal government personnel costs for 2019 blocked from being stolen. That's according to the ICPC. And then, of course, you have other headlines above the nameplate. Federal government to borrow $1.2 billion for agric mechanization and others. And governors must use talks with bandits to end killings. Use of cryptocurrencies a concern, says IMF.
Kinsley, we seem to have the same headlines here. And school abduction, FG Niger government in talks with Kagara, kidnappers with kickers, 42 kidnapped victims in Kaduna forest. We know the abductors, that's attributed to the Inspector General of Police. We will adopt Katsina tactics to rescue them, Defense Minister, and declare state of emergency on security, Senate urges Buhari. And the picture story you see there, the ruins of the Custom House IDP camp in Maiduguri yesterday. More than 600 IDPs displaced and infant killed as the fire gutted the IDP camp. You find details on page 10. And above the masthead, we have Tofa orders caution against profiling Fulani Hausa as criminals. You find details on page 6. 2003
You might take some water. That's Fire, while she was trying to replenish.
Sorry about that.
Some water. Let's
look at the story that is dominating all the papers. Gunmen believed to be armed bandits, dressed in military uniform, stormed the staff quarters and hostels of Government Science College, Kagara, 2 a.m. and took away 27 students, 3 staffs, and 12 members of their families. One student was feared killed for attempting to escape. One other staff of the college was able to escape, and therefore he was able to give the background. Governor Abubakar Sani Bello has ordered boarding schools in 4 local governments of Niger states, Rafi, Munya, Mariga, and Shiroro, to close indefinitely. These are the areas where there has been rampant kidnapping in most recent times. He appealed to the public to provide information that could lead to the rescue of the victims. We are deeply concerned, and we will ask for the federal government to deploy every necessary resource, kinetic and non-kinetic, to ensure safe return of victims. President Muhammadu Buhari is said to have directed the armed forces and the police to ensure immediate and safe return of all captives. Security chiefs dispatched to Niger State are to coordinate rescue operations, meet with state officials, community leaders, as well as parents of staff of GSS Kagara, to ensure that the initiative by the security agents to secure their rescue is attained. There are several perspectives to it. Sheikh Ahmed Gumi, who was on his way to Kebbi when he had this, has already detoured to Niger State. What he's saying is that he will meet with the governor and then discuss, and he also has the initiative to go and meet the bandits from the Kankara area. Governor Bello Mutawale of Zamfara State has advised his brother in Niger State that he should sit with stakeholders, find out the root causes, dialogue with the initiative of reconciliation to achieve what they have been able to achieve in Zamfara. He says if Governor of Niger follow the steps of peace, very soon we shall see the end of such crisis. Minister of Defense Bashir Magasi has asked Nigerians to sum up courage and stand up to the criminals. Why should people run away? We should stand and face them. If they know that people have capability to defend themselves, they will run away. He is, however, not advocating for every Nigerian to possess firearms. The Daily Trust is reporting that both federal and Niger state government are deploying third parties to reach out to the bandits. The abduction of 27 students, 3 staff, 12 members of their families is coming less than 3 months after the abduction of 344 students in Government Science Secondary School, Kankara. It is believed that the bandits that stormed Kagara are the same bandits who have been terrorizing commuters along the Birnin-Gwari highway of Kaduna State. Meanwhile, the Senate has also urged the president to declare a state of emergency as far as security is concerned. This was a motion that was moved by Mohammed Sani Musa in the Senate yesterday. Senate President Amal Lawal says that recent incidents of kidnapping will have negative effect on willingness of parents to send their children to school. He urged security to come up with a strategy to secure schools. Governors of the 36 states have been meeting yesterday, Wednesday night, all through under the umbrella of the Governors Forum. So everybody is concerned and all hands are at deck, and we hope that very soon this unfortunate incident will also become a story of the past. But sadly, there have been already 1 student that has been killed. The International Monetary Fund is warning and cautioning against transactions in cryptocurrency. The standby, the IMF, is also collaborating or coinciding with the initiative by the Central Bank of Nigeria that digital currency remains a concern to regulators across the world. The IMF is representative in Nigeria, Mr. Ari Aisen, said a lot has been changing regarding cryptocurrency. The concerns are that the kind of activities that digital currency support and how to monitor them has become a difficulty. Some are involved in illegal activities, and they could relate to money laundering and even drugs. The central bank action is to enable them arrive at a best policy for for the benefit of the payment system to sustain the economy. Coming to COVID-19, yesterday we have 869 new cases and 8 deaths in 23 states of the Federation and the FCT. Total now 149,369. Total deaths 1,787 deaths. So far, we have 21,760 of our compatriots who are in treatment. There is anxiety about a new strain of the COVID-19, so much so that the House of Reps is now proposing that their plenary, which usually is to be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, will henceforth probably be only on Tuesdays. It is about the concerns for the strain of the virus. You recall, we read a story about 7 children who were killed by an explosive device. A similar thing has happened in Kaduna. This time, they were lucky. They were about 9 of the children. They picked the device. They didn't know it was an explosive device, but luck was on their side. 7 of them were injured, and they are now receiving treatment in Ahmadu Bello Teaching Hospital, Shika. So there should be a notice to all parents. Warn your children, if you see any strange device, don't attempt to pick them. Because unfortunately, because of this banditry and all this, we have all this in the explosive. Kingsley, you saved me the other time when the thing choked me up. In explosive devices, literally all over the place.
All over the place.
Yes.
How did it get there? Well, it's sad.
Yes, it's Bayo Atoebe. We would like to appreciate you for being around. We're going to see you again tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We just ended the newspaper review, and we earlier indicated that we're having 2 topics for conversation. We heard again the updates of the Kagara school abduction. Then we're having our correspondent who is on location to join us right away. Let's get quickly to Abdullahi Mohammed, who is our correspondent at Kagara. That's right, you can see him on the right side of the split screen, just with the school signboard being the backdrop for him. Abdullahi Mohammed, if you can hear us, you're live on the network service on Good Morning Nigeria. What is the latest from Kagara this morning?
The latest from Kagara this morning is that it is chilling here, and I am imagining how these children, school students here that have been kidnapped here yesterday, will be going through wherever they are at this moment. I would like to tell you that looking at this signboard, this school was established in 1969. This is 52 years ago. And there's a lot that leaves much to be desired looking at the structure of this school. Take a look at the wall of the school over there. You can see that it has not been getting the desired attention over the years, and that makes it a soft target. By yesterday, the governor of Niger State was here, and he has gone around the school and seeing the situation here, promising that he's going to do something about this. But so far, what I have found out this morning is that the government have closed down the schools here, and most of the teachers are leaving the premises of the school. Let's go this side and look at what is happening by the roadside here. You can see a number of teachers and staff of this college discussing outside here. Some of them putting together their loads, leaving the school. I have with me here somebody that I would like him to share his experience with us. I think he's a security in the school here. I want him to just share a little bit of his experience, because he was there when the whole thing was playing out 3 a.m. yesterday morning. Good morning. What's your name, sir?
Morning. My name is Mustafa Garba.
Tell us just briefly your experience yesterday.
Yesterday at around 2 a.m. So we had a shooting gun moving around the school. So when I wake up, I saw some bandits moving with our students and our staffs with their family.
Were you scared?
Yes. And then from there I left where I was staying, so I have to move to the bush.
You ran away?
Yes, I ran away.
What did you see? What were they carrying?
They
What
carry
really
some.
scared you?
They carry some students and our staffs.
I mean the bandits. Were
The bandits, they carry gun.
Were they shooting?
Yes, they shoot the gun, then carry the gun
What
along.
really made you scared?
That is the shooting of the gun.
You were so scared.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
This man said he was so scared yesterday. It's just a tip of the iceberg of what these school children went through yesterday here. You can hear from him who saw exactly what played out here, studio.
Hi, Mohammed, I can see you're freezing, and like you said, you know, just imagining these people, students and teachers and other family members in the bush in this very, very freezing weather. I can imagine what they're going through. Well, we heard that the security forces are in hot pursuit of the bandits, and they've called for information from the public. Is there anything new coming out from there?
Okay, right now we have not had anything latest, but there's somebody also standing by who is going to tell us exactly what, I mean the feelers from what is happening, that aspect. But again, let me tell you that in the school itself, there's a vehicle of security, that's police mobile force stationed there, ensuring that the premises is secured. But let me introduce this man, Mohammed. Please come over here. Let's find out from him, because he's also part of those people calling the shots at the local government here, Rafi local government, Niger State. Let's hear from him if there's anything latest pertaining what we're hearing from those school children that were abducted here yesterday. Mohammed, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Have you heard anything?
Yesterday, I learned they called informing. They spoke with the principal. I learned, informing him that they realized the government is not ready to compromise, because they have sent soldier to attack them, but they have moved on. But in their conversation, they didn't speak long. They said they are short of a recharge card in their phone, that we should send a recharge card for them. And I believe that we did that yesterday.
So it means negotiation is going on, and by the grace of God, very soon.
Yes, we have started communicating with them, but nothing tangible yet is being discussed.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But then let's also go back and to yesterday, or some days before yesterday. What has been the situation like, you know, in terms of security in Rafi local government area? Share with us.
In Rafi local government, we have been battling with Rafi local government. When I say Rafi local government have 10 district heads, 11 political wards, and all those places were ravaged by this insecurity. The district head of Madaka was killed. The district head of Guna was abducted, and his whereabouts is not known. The abductors did not call him. Nobody knows anything about him. On Monday precisely, the village head of Kusharki, Masoud Abubakar, was also killed. Many of our villages are now empty, and that is why it's even making it very difficult for the security to trace those people, because they have to inquire, because the bush is very tricky, so they have to inquire from the local the routes to in the villages, and the locals are no more there. Yes, so we have more than 40 to 50 polling units in Rafi local government that are empty. Even if election will come, nobody will vote there.
But prior to this incident itself, was there any arrangement from the community, the security agencies, to ensure that the community is secured or things like that?
Yes, Mr. Governor, Abubakar Sadi Bello, the governor of Niger State, has been trying. We recruited vigilantes, the local government council, in conjunction with the state government, we recruited about 2,500 vigilantes. The governor himself intervened with the commissioner of police. They provided a pump action rifle for the vigilantes. They provide vehicles and motorcycles for them. A lot of effort has been made, but you know, you can't expect our vigilante who are using cartridges to fight with people holding AK-47, AK-49. Yes. Recently, you saw in a video they are displaying rocket propelled launchers. So we are making effort. The executive chairman, Samaila Musa Modibo, I think in the whole of Rivers State is the only local government chairman that is always sleeping in his local government to ensure that he protects his people. And we give kudos to the executive governor of Niger State. He is also trying tremendously.
You've heard from him that, no. He has just explained to us.
Abdullahi Mohammed, I would like you to get in touch again with the security officer or the security staff you first spoke with a while ago. During your interaction with him, he was talking about how the abductors came, they were shooting, and of course he said he was scared. But let him tell us, and our viewers, that is to say, before the attack, did he or any of his colleagues notice any unusual movement in and around the school with probably the abductors on a reconnaissance mission?
All right. What we are also curious to find out is that did you notice anything before the arrival of those bandits that day? Did you notice anything unusual?
We had a little news about them that they are around the Kagara side. So some other people, some villagers, even ran away. We give them a little place to hide. So we don't know that. We have already heard about them because what is going at our area. Every time we had the rumors, and after all, we will find it will be like that. So
exactly
so far
what you have noticed is that some villagers left their villages and then found shelter here in the school. That's the only thing that gave you indication that something terrible might be happening.
Then as I had the shooting of the gun, then I wake up, I know that yes, they can able to do, because the time that they visited first time visited this our bank, that is what happened. We had rumors rumors about them. Before you know something, then we just hear shooting going on in the. So that is the thing.
Well, you have heard from the security man. He said they were not expecting that something like that will happen, but what they saw unusual was that some members of communities around the school were leaving their communities, coming to take shelter in the school, and then subsequently the abductors came in the middle of, yesterday morning, and then took those students, staff of the school, and then some families in the school.
Abdullahi, let's get this clear. I thought I heard the security staff say that they had some rumors that villagers surrounding the school had deserted their own villages, and some came to seek refuge in the school premises. Now, tell us, what is the geography of that area like? How far is a village or how far is a town from the government science college? Is the school on the outskirts or smack in the middle of town?
Well, actually, this school is located outskirts of Kagara itself, but it's not very far. Let's say about half a kilometer from the school to the town itself, Kagara. But looking at the surroundings of the school, you can clearly see that the school is, let's say, located in the bush, because there's no building in the front, maybe any kind of community in the front of the school or behind the school. All you can see is an open land, which maybe farmlands and so on and so forth. So, and looking at the condition of the school itself, you can see just clearly that the wall of the school is all dilapidated. It's just exactly what we call a soft target.
Abdullahi, who owns the school?
It's a government school.
Which government owns the school?
Who owns the school? Is it the state government or the local government?
We're going to have to pause you in the meantime, and we will return to you. I know you were, your cameraman was panning to show us the perimeter wall of the school. It looks like a dwarf wall in the first instance and crumbled in many places. We'd like to thank you in the meantime, as I said, for giving us an update. We'll return to you. Perhaps if you can reach the school principal or some other senior officer in the school who would give us an indication of numbers of pupils who were in school or otherwise. And then we will, of course, get those details from you in the course, if not of this program, but in our subsequent bulletins. Abdullahi Mohammed, our correspondent, standing right in front of Government Science College, Kagara in Niger State, where some 27 or 26 pupils were abducted yesterday. There was one fatality, and some staff and their family members were equally taken hostage. All right, so let's come back to our Abuja network studios and introduce our guests. Dr. Kabiru Adamu, security risk management expert. We always have him on security issues. He's our regular analyst. Brigadier General John Temlong, also a regular security analyst, first commander of the Multinational Joint Task Force, and former president of the Alumni Association of the National Defense College. The only question one can ask you, gentlemen, is what is your reading of the situation?
Frankly, quite unfortunate. When Kankara incident happened in Katsina, we all thought lessons have been learned and we will never gather here again to discuss such an embarrassing occurrence in our history. The fact that we are gathered here again to discuss the same issue is not just an embarrassment, it's a slap on our national existence as a country. I feel that all the issues that should have been tabled were tabled after the Kankara incident. In fact, I remember here in this studio, some of us offered ourselves to support the Ministry of Education to come up. The Safe School Initiative is internationally acclaimed. Countries like Pakistan have tried it, and it has worked for them. Now, in 2014, we endorsed that initiative, but we have not implemented it. And because we've not implemented it, one of the most critical sectors in our economy is suffering. We cannot go anywhere if this continues. Some of us can afford to send our kids to private schools that perhaps will have better protection. But the majority of Nigerians rely on these public schools. Now, how many parents in this circumstance will allow their kids to go to school? Very, very little, really. So it's unfortunate. I am hugely embarrassed. I am worried as a citizen that I'm gathered here again in a national studio discussing something that we should have prioritized. To that extent, it's accountability. I think it's the way to go. Somebody should be held accountable. You cannot have a situation where words that have been handed over as to custodians, and these custodians drop the ball and fail, and yet nothing is happening. I've had issues around nobody has been prosecuted after the Kankara incident, and it's true. In fact, if you trace back from Chibok, which was when, in fact, there was Bunyadi before Chibok, but it's not spoken that much. Till date, we're not aware of any level of prosecution for the perpetrators of this kind of act. So again, it's embarrassing. it's quite unfortunate that we're gathered to discuss this issue again, and I hope and I pray that this will be the last time that we will gather to discuss such an unfortunate development in our national history.
I begin to question the fact that with so much money put into education, that school is an eyesore. I remember in secondary school, the only time we see outside is by the gates. And most of the time they tell us to go back. You can't stand at the gate. The walls there, almost more than 50 years of that school existing. Is the Safe School Initiative just on paper now?
It appears so, unfortunately. And this is the discussion about accountability. Monies were voted for that Safe School Initiative. Gordon Brown, if I remember well, was the person who endorsed the initiative, and I personally saw him with my eye. The man came here with just his rucksack and used his influence to get us support. And several bodies, international bodies, donated money for that fund. The Nigerian government matched that donation. And at one point there was actually an agency called the Safe School Initiative. But it appears it's been subsumed under the democracy of government. I'm not sure, but I think it's under the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, or perhaps the Northeast Development Commission. The details are not very clear. But the question is this: what were the things that were supposed to be achieved by the Safe School Initiative? The issue you mentioned is physical security. That it comes under that. There are three components to the Safe School Initiative: the school premises itself, that's the physical security in the school, then the residents inside the school, and then the community where the school is domiciled. Now, before you even do that, you need to do an audit around the whole country and identify the schools that are vulnerable. We know, for instance, that there are 3 local governments in Niger State that have been at the receiving end of this banditry: Shiroro, Rafi, and Munya local government, as well as 5 other local governments that have in the past. So it is inconceivable that you have this level of dilapidation of physical security in the school where we know that bandits could attack. The question you ask is very relevant. I don't have the answer now. Is it the federal government that owns that school, or is it the state government? But irrespective, government is government. To the average citizen, he does not make that distinction between the local government, the state, and the federal. All he knows is that he has taken his word to the school and that the government should protect that word. Unfortunately, that protection did not happen. And so the word around accountability, I will emphasize it again. Somebody should be held accountable.
Jonathan Long.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, Kingsley. I think my heart reaches out to the parents of these children, especially the one who has lost his life. It's quite unfortunate that we are having this recurrent situation in this country. It is pertinent to note that accountability has become a problem in this country. It is also pertinent to know that note that I think the governance at the state and local government levels have been quite poor. Every time we sit down, we think the federal government is doing everything. No, that school is a government, Niger State government school. The federal government cannot sit down here and audit all the secondary schools of the states. The problem is that there is a leadership deficit at that level, and unless we're able to fill that deficit, we'll still continue to have these problems. Like you saw it, everybody saw. I think the school is an eyesore, and who do you want to train in that sort of environment in the first place? Who do you want to train in that environment in the first place? Because that the school is quite terrible. We have been beaten once, we have been beaten twice, we've been beaten thrice. I don't know whether we're shy now or we're just looking at this thing, because what happened in Chibok and Dapchi and Kankara should have taught a lesson, especially for states around Niger, Kaduna, Zamfara. They should have noted that those areas have become an area that has been being ravaged a lot, and so some measures should have been taken in terms of physical security of that place, and then backing it up with electronics. devices. Cameras would have been very useful. And the cameras these days are those that you can even connect, monitoring even at the state capital. So, and they're not expensive. I don't see any reason why you cannot deploy like $500,000 to put cameras around that area, surveillance cameras. And the commissioner of police or the state police command, the local government or the divisional police or area command should be able to be monitoring all these things to be able to react as quickly as possible. It's just simple nonchalance and dereliction and the lack of accountability, because we know nothing happens at the end of the day. So I think we need to be more serious about life, because that's the value we put to life in this country in any case, because people don't even care about lives again. Because if you have value to life, then it means people will have to start looking at it, at the security of people more seriously. So I think, and you can even see the caliber of the security people who have always have the lowly who cannot even understand and decipher what are of security value. Because the people you take and put as security guards or your security staff are those who can hardly understand, read and write. It's something that is meant for the lowly. I mean, there were indicators that were given and he took it as rumors. But these are security indicators which should have been taken care of. Should have been reported and intelligence built out of this information. Unfortunately, they just look at it as rumor, and they thought they could provide accommodation for people or refuge for people in the school. To what extent did they have the wherewithal to defend even those they have under their custody, or let alone those who are coming more to them? So I think we have to look at this situation seriously. There needs to be some capacity building. I've discussed this with some of my colleagues and even those in government. I think the assumption that people get elected and then you give them, they go and occupy that office and they're equipped to run that office or they have the capacity to run is wrong in this country. We have to look at having a serious transition program with a law that backs it. You can see what happens in the US, because there's supposed to be some money released, and that money is for capacity building to prepare all the staff that are coming to serve with the president. This is not done in this country. You see people just carrying big guns running around at his SA, his advisor, his this and this. What are his schedules? Nothing, and the rest. And then even the population itself, we must build the capacity of the population to start picking up indicators that are of security importance, reporting them. And we must hold to our security chaps to accountability, because there are cases where why is the police just going with the vehicle there just to guard what has been left or what? They should have been there earlier. And I don't know whether there is DSS in that area, because if those things that were going around, or do they not have informants? These are some of the things that we must interrogate, and we must have commissions to actually, independent commissions to start investigating these things. And once you do that, then you start holding people to accountability. Honestly, if we don't do this, we'll continue. We'll give another month or two. You'll see this situation going on.
General Temlong, you've illustrated what needs to be done with regard to accountability. We are facing an existential threat from bandits and kidnappers and sundry hoodlums. Dr. Kabir Adamu, still writing on the issue of accountability. Look, this incident has occurred in a certain jurisdiction. Who has security oversight, who has intelligence responsibility in that particular locality? So why did you drop the ball? Or why did you take your eyes off the ball? Kankara happened and there seemed to have been nothing. Yes, we all celebrated the fact that the defense forces were able to secure the freedom for the over 300 school pupils. But the security forces, I'm not the security expert, won't just march in there unless they had actionable intelligence on what to do. But as proactive or preventive measures, something has gone wrong. whose business or whose duty is it, and what kind of remedial measures, if not sanctions, ought to be taken?
We can take a cue by the officials that Mr. President deployed to Niger State. And based on my understanding, the Office of the National Security Advisor, the Ministry of Defense, the Inspector General of Police led that delegation. Of course, the Ministry of Information too had a representative, but of course that's not in the security realm. I guess it's just to pronounce the government's action on the policy decision taken with regards to the managing the crisis or the consequence of the issue. So first, Office of the National Security Advisor, Ministry of Defense, Inspector General of Police, taking cue by what Mr. President has mentioned. But I would like to approach it from a wider perspective. Frankly, everyone in government has responsibility for those kids. To the extent that we've talked about the role of the federal government, we should also talk about the role of the state government. Immediately after the incident, the governor announced that schools in those 3 local governments that I've talked about should be closed. Now the question is, after the Kankara incident, I would have thought, based on the type of attention that the issue generated and the kind of discussions, in fact, state governments in the Northwest took those kind of action. So my presumption was that the governor should have also taken that cue from them. Because frankly, the extent of banditry in Niger State is almost at par with what is happening in Zamfara and Katsina. So there was nothing really stopping the state government from taking that kind of action. And where the state government doesn't take that action, then the local government chairman, who feels the pulse of the people, who have had complaint on other media platforms that the extent of banditry in Rafi local government has actually dislocated almost its entire population. So he should have, even if the state government hadn't taken that action, the local government should have prompted that action. Then if we leave that, then the level of the parliament too, at the state level and at the federal level, because we're in a democracy, they should be able to check the actions of the executive where there are these failures. So I'm sorry to say, when we talk of accountability, it's a broad area, and all of these points that
no matter how broad, you still have to identify persons who had responsibility.
Yeah. Now I've identified the persons, yes, but the bulk, frankly, lies in the leadership. So as an example, what I would expect at this level, just like my co-discussant had mentioned, a commission of inquiry should be set up immediately, either at the state level or at the federal level, that would identify clearly. I know for a fact that there is an SSS personnel in that local government based on the deployment of SSS personnel. Now, that commission of inquiry should be able to establish, did that personnel write a report? If he wrote the report, who was supposed to act on that report? Did the person act? So those are the kind of accountability. But I mentioned it broadly, but in terms of pinpointing areas of responsibility, only an investigation will be able to point. Now, those actions, were they taken? If they were taken, who failed to respond? The Minister of Communication and Digital Economy told us that a new emergency number is now in operation. If I'm right, 112 or 122. Now, do the people at that level, that remote level in our villages, are they aware of these numbers? If they are aware, I've seen a tweet by a traditional ruler from Rafi local government where he tagged virtually every person that I've mentioned in my opening remarks. And so it's not a lack of awareness. I believe that before the incident happened, while the incident was happening, there was awareness. So how come there was no response?
You know, Dr. Kabir, thanks, General Temlong. While we are discussing the abduction of the school pupils at Government Science College, there was an incident a few days earlier of travelers in the Niger State Transport Authority bus who were abducted. And there is a video that has been trending on the social media, but I also saw the video on the website of the Punch newspaper. Now, the abductors were wielding all kinds of assault rifles, probably AK-47, if not AK-49. One of them also had a rocket launcher. Yes. And they were taunting not just the abductees, but also taunting the Nigerian state. Yeah. So you have those persons who are still in captivity. Now the question, because part of the video showed at some moment the location where they were, you could see some huts and so on and so forth. All of this has happened. That's what we're saying, look, accountability or responsibility? Are these bandits just having a field day, being able to communicate with one another? There is no interception of their communication. There is, I don't know. These are the issues we're talking about.
And in the video, one of them was saying, "Oh, you're going to take videos now, but okay, we're going to video it now. Okay, let's not go ahead."
It's audacious.
It's audacious.
Yeah, I think it's quite unfortunate, like what you said. I think let's call a spade a spade. The governor and the local government chairman must be held responsible. They take those squarely. There are procedures that if it's beyond the state governor, he now invites the federal government. So you cannot sit down here. There are divisions of responsibilities and duties. And if there are those serious security threats in the state, the state governor has a state security council. And when you audit you find out that what did they discuss at the State Security Council. He's the chairman. He has the military commander, the police, the DSS, and all those available to him. What decisions did they take, and did he implement them? And who are responsible for implementing them? I started, and I said it, I think yesterday too, on channels, and I said, look, there is something wrong. Let's call a spade a spade. Kingsley, you know that if you give these bandits 10 million naira, they will not be sleeping in that bush or in those huts. No, they will not. They will come to the cities and enjoy life too. They might not go to Hilton, but they will go to some hotels and be playing because they love life. They won't be staying in those mosquito-infested, snake-infested areas.
It's easy money.
Yes, and it's easy money, like you said. So we have to. I think our intelligence must up their game. Let's face it. You see, there are two things that you look at in national security, and then in asymmetric operations that you look at. The more intelligence you have, the less resources you use. And the less intelligence you have, the more resources. Because you'll be beating about, you will try to deploy all over and overstretching yourself. Now, when you have adequate and timely and credible intelligence, you will now design your force to meet that threat. And you might not need that much threat that you have, force that you have now. But we have a lot. You see, all you do is to keep throwing about forces all over the place, trying to meet what is going on. So I mean, I think there is more. And you see, the important thing is that there's a Nigerian population. People were misreading the Minister of Defense yesterday when they said, look, when these people defeat the population, they have defeated the country. Because somebody said they have pump action. During the Civil War, thieves were using bow and arrow to attack the Igbos. And they dared, and they were more afraid of the bows and arrows than the rifles. In the night, do they have night goggles? They come into a town and then raid all their rifles firing. Even from your window in your house with a bow and arrow, you can pick one. Yes. They wouldn't even know where it's coming from. There's no sound. And so have we been beaten so much that we've become cowards? I think we must resolve. David used a sling, a stone, to bring down Goliath. Goliath was in an armored vehicle, yes. But today, without even the armor, just the weapon, we are all running around. With 10 guns, they can do all those things. Pump action, they can do those things. In any case, they're in a built-up area, so it's close-quarter battle. You don't even need the range of an AK-47. It's close quarter. And if you even close to him with a knife, a dagger, you can easily get the man before he starts standing around on you.
That's if you are trained to do
Well,
that.
you don't need to be trained. The first rule of survival is self-preservation. Every human being, if I raise my hand now to slap you, you raise up your hand. Nobody trains you that one. Or you blink your eyes. Nobody trained you. It's an instinctive thing built in you. So we definitely... But the important thing, like you said, we can build the capacity of our communities, because there is a complete breakdown of social order, complete breakdown of security at the local level. So we need to build back our communities with and then have security awareness training in a way that they are able to organize some self-defenses of theirs, have a reporting system and who to report to, and what is it, and how they can hold people accountable, and how they can be held accountable, because they must be responsible for their security.
Yeah, well, okay. General Temlong, thanks a lot. If you recall, I think you joined us out from Jos, and Kabir was here in the studios when we were discussing the issue of so-called ungoverned spaces.
Yes.
These are some of the ideas that are still swirling around. Dr. Kabir, are we also at this time now reaping the backlash, as it were, of always paying for ransom whenever there was a kidnap by the bandits or those commercial kidnappers? Because at some point it seemed to have been the case that if a person was kidnapped, families were usually encouraged not to antagonize the kidnappers but to settle quietly. And when the victims were freed, some of them would admit that the land at ransom was paid, but they wouldn't want to go into details. Has this emboldened kidnappers? Has this emboldened bandits? Because elsewhere, they say, look, don't give them any sop. Don't pay any ransom. If you dry up their resources, then, of course, they will be in trouble. And when they collect the ransom, and these are usually huge sums, how do they get it around the financial system and there is no red flag?
Kingsley, in 2018, I had an association of security practitioners, frankly the biggest in the world, American Society for Industrial Security, ASIS International, and we released a report in 2018 where we highlighted this point, the consequence of the payment of ransom, and went as far as advising the government to come out with a policy on ransom payment. Now, it's a very delicate area. You can come out with a policy like the Americans have, saying don't pay ransom. Now, that's a policy. But in certain circumstances, you would have to pay the ransom. But the beauty of it is the policy now gives direction. It also allows security agencies to work towards a particular goal. For instance, they know that, okay, the government says don't pay ransom. If anyone reports a kidnap for ransom case to them, they know that they are limited by law to encourage the person to pay ransom. Currently, we don't have that. At the state level, there are laws here and there. Some would say death penalty on kidnapping and all that. But as far as ransom is concerned, I think we need to, at the national level, come out with a clear policy that says the position of government on ransom. It's very important because that is what would give the security agencies the platform from which to operate with. Now, in terms of the consequences of the payment of ransom, we can beat around it. By the end of the day, it's simple. It empowers the perpetrators. It allows them a lot of room. When General Tenlong talked about intelligence, one of the things that because I run a consultancy, and part of what I offer in the consultancy is crisis management, including negotiation when it comes to kidnap for ransom. We know, for instance, in Zamfara, as an example, there are levels of this practice. So you have about 4 groups that are involved in the kidnap for ransom industry, quote and unquote. And because an industry has emerged, they are incentivized to continue it. Now, at one point, it was believed it was a particular ethnic group. But because the monies are huge, and I'll give you an example. A typical youth who is unskilled and comes to Abuja, puts kola nut on his head, and is moving around. At the end of the year, probably the profit you make from that, at the best, probably 50,000. Now, he engages in kidnap for ransom or in the supply channel for kidnap for ransom, because there is a supply channel. Like he mentioned, they collect money, they go and enjoy themselves. There is a supply channel providing drugs for them. There is a supply channel providing prostitutes for them. There is a supply channel providing food for them. Intelligence should be able to determine and identify these supply channels. Now, someone who joins that supply channel I've heard of a woman who benefited 800,000 naira from just supporting this type of activities that I've mentioned. Now compare that with someone who spends the whole year and he gets 50,000 naira profit. So when the governor of Kaduna said he's not going to negotiate with bandits, I could understand where he's coming from, because the incentive for kidnap for ransom is out there. And frankly, if we're going to stop this, then we need to take out that incentive. In criminology, there is the situational response to crime, and there is what we call the crime triangle. Now, one of the recommendations for stopping crime is to remove the incentive, or in other words, make it difficult for the perpetrator to benefit from the incentive. In this instance, the incentive is this ransom. That's why they're in it. How do we take out this ransom? Or even when they collect it, how do we stop them from spending it? Once we're able to do that, then believe me, we would have started the programming to end kidnap for ransom. But for as long as they can collect the ransom, enjoy it, use it as they want, then unfortunately this industry will continue to thrive.
Unfortunately, Dr. Kabira, the General Tumbler, we're going to have to pause you. We are getting the signals again from our correspondent, Abdullahi Mohammed. Right, you can see him back on the right side of the screen. He's right now in Kagara town itself. He's moved away from the government science college. Abdullahi, what is the latest from the city itself? I mean, it's a town, by the way. Yes.
Well, what I can tell you right now is that while we're transiting away from the school, we came across some people gathered taking their breakfast this morning in Kagara, inside Kagara town. And then I curiously asked, why are so many people gathered in one place taking breakfast this morning? And I was told that these people are from villages around Kagara who left their villages sacked by bandits, taking shelter in Kagara town here. If you look through my camera, you see a lot of them here just standing curiously watching what we're doing here. I have with me here Lukman, who is also one of the villagers that left his village and is here in Kagara. Though he's going to speak in Hausa, and subsequently I will be able to explain to you what he has said. Malam Lukman.
Assalamu alaikum. Sunana Lukman Ismail. Abin da kamu Kagara gudun hijira ne.
Daga ina?
Daga ƙauyukan mun baro ƙauyukan mu da dama saboda abubuwan da ke faruwa a cikin.
Me ya faru a ƙauyen ku?
Yan biniga daɗi su suke biyo mu da sauransu suna hana mu kwanciya a gidajen mu.
To yanzu kuna Kagara, ina kuke kwana?
Yanzu muna Kagara, wallahi inda muke kwana, wasu suna kwana a masallatai, wasu suna kwana a makarantu. Ga mun nan dai barkatai haka nan. Ba wurin kwana isasshe, ga sanyi na damu, ga sauro, ga abubuwa da dama, lalura duk ya ishe.
Amma yanzu na gan ku duk kun taru ɗaya nan wurin, me kuke yi?
Gaskiya yanzu nan muna cin abinci ne ma kakkaryawa, sakamakon ba mu da inda zamu je mu kare a gidajen mu, mun dawo bakin titi muke kakkaryawa. Nan muke sa muna dan sayan kosai da kunu haka muna sha.
We have heard from Lukman. Lukman said they've left their villages as a result of fear from bandits coming to one village after the other, and they decided to move here, to take shelter here, because to some extent Kagara town is more secured than their villages. You've heard from him. I'm sure it is a story that relates to so many of his brothers here that are standing here. I also have another person again here standing. Let me also talk to him and find out his own experience at the village he comes from and so on and so forth.
Assalamu alaikum. Sunana Malam Habibu.
Daga wani ƙauye?
Daga ƙauyen Makangara.
Makangara, me ya kawo Kagara?
Gudun hijira ne ya kawo mu.
Me ya faru a ƙauyenka?
Ƙauyenmu abinda ya sa muka baro ƙauyenmu a kowane lokaci ne, duk lokacin da za mu zauna a ƙauyenmu karfe 4 za a dingifin mu ne da mashinoni da bindigogi ne, kawai ba kwanci hankali kwata-kwata. Shi yasa muka baro ƙauyenmu muka shigo nan Kagara. Kagaran ma ba wai mun samu inda za mu fake bane, dai kawai muna nan a maneji.
The same story shared by this gentleman, that it's all about the fear of bandits from their villages, and they moved out of those villages and then seek shelter here in Kagara town. Studio.
Okay, Mohammed, you're in Kagara town now. Have you been able to make contact with any of the parents of the students that were kidnapped?
Of course, I have been able to, in fact, while I left the secondary school, my mission was to go find out where the house of one of the students that was killed is. we got to the house of one of the reverend here, and in fact he's now leading us to the house of one of the students that was killed during the process of abduction at the school. And in fact, any moment from now we'll get there, and by the grace of God we'll give you an update what is happening there.
Do they have a police station there? And have you been able to see any security personnel around the area, maybe scouting and looking for, you know, tips on what really happened and how to track these people?
Of course, there's a police station here, and there's a combined members of the security. There's police, soldiers, vigilante. They're all there with vehicles. You see them patrolling, going up and down. I think they're making frantic efforts to make sure that maybe they secure the release of the school children, and at the same time secure the town which is very strategic now, where so many villagers leaving their villages are coming to seek refuge, and they find a peace here. So I think it is important for them to keep this place peaceful and secured, and that's exactly what they are doing. We have seen them going up and down day and night.
He said he will not negotiate with terrorists. The first kidnap, they're sort of requesting for 500 million, which is sort of way beyond what the government can do. So what is the feeling like, knowing that the government said they will not negotiate even if they set a term for the release of these people? Is it a sense of hopelessness?
Actually, I've spoken to a lot of people right from yesterday here. The coming of the governor to that school yesterday restored hopes to many of the people here. And in fact, he has spoken, he has given assurances. You know what it means for number one citizen of a particular state to come and find out what has happened in a particular local government and give assurances to people who were feeling hopeless. They are very, very hopeful. So many of the people that I've spoken to, especially the words from the governor, giving them courage.
Abdullahi, well, it's understandable that you're now having joint patrols of the police, the military, and vigilante. But Jumai asked a question: does Kagara town itself have a police station? And perhaps if you don't have that information, you could go find out what the state of that police station is. Plus, those internally displaced persons, some of whom you have spoken to, for how long have they been displaced? And what kind of succor has come their way since they were displaced? And what do they know about their other relatives who are in the same village or in other villages? For how long have they been sacked from their communities?
Okay, I have said it clearly that Kagara has a police station. But again, let me find out from Lukman, can you please come over here? Tun yaushe kuka baro ƙauyukanku? Kai kana Kagara kaman tun yaushe?
Ina Kagara na kai shekara 20 da wani abu da aka haife ni.
A ina nufin baro ƙauyenku da kuka yi, kun kai kaman wata nawa ko kwana nawa?
Da baro ƙauyukanmu yanzu mun kai wata 6 zuwa
wata 6.
Wata 6 haka.
Wasu ƴan uwanku suna ƙauye ko wasu ma suna wani wuri ya akai?
Gaskiya wasu da dama sun bar wuraren nan, sun ma tashi daga ƙasashen nan saboda irin abubuwan da ke faruwa na tashin hankali.
Okay. Kai kuma fa, kai ma tun yaushe kake nan?
Ina ganin ni yanzu da shigowa na ƙauyen ga ya kai wata 4 haka tun da suka fara addaban mu.
To amma kuma ana kawo muku wani dauki?
Ba abin da ake kawo mana, sai dai a zo a nuna mana bindigogi za a shiga kawai a je a saya a tahiru a dawo.
Well, you've heard from them. They're saying that most of them have spent like 6 months here, so others say 4 months, and so on and so forth. But they said so far they've not been getting any kind of assistance from anybody. But the fact is that most of them are staying with their relatives here in Kagara.
All right, Abdullahi Mohammed, our correspondent in Kagara, Niger State. That's the latest focal point in the abduction of school pupils from their campus. We'd like to thank you in the meantime. Of course, Abdullahi, if you do have any update in the course of the program, just before we wrap up, at 9. Of course, you can always get back to us. Abdullahi Mohammed, NTA correspondent in Kagara, Niger State. Thanks a lot. Okay, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria still on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We indicated we're going to have a second topic, which has to do with dousing ethnic and religious tension. In a sense, ethnic and religious tensions also have a coloration of security. So we're going to retain Dr. Kabir Adamu and General John Temlong in the next conversation. We'll take a short break now.
Okay.
Yes.
You're welcome back from the break. Before we now commence our conversation on dousing ethnic tension in Nigeria, we would like to take the tweets that came in. You know, Mike Anyako tweets that this abduction in Kagara school once again brought Nigeria in a very bad light in the Community of Nations. Why should this kind of thing still be happening in our country? Who are the criminals? Did the security operatives nonchalant attitude on their duties cause this? What should be done to put final stop to this anomaly? Drastic actions must be taken to solve a drastic challenge. Firstly, FGN should declare a state of emergency in Niger State.
Delayed Jack Solomon, the security situation in Nigeria is overwhelming and threatens the peace of our country. On a daily basis, you hear stories of killings, bombing, and kidnapping. We implore the armed forces and the police to ensure the safe return of captives to their homes.
Okay, Utolo Sunday tweets, Nigerian security situation is really devastating right now and needs urgent steps to arrest the situation. Meanwhile, we need external support as well. We cannot continue like this.
Festus Akimboyewa, every Nigerian, home and abroad, should be worried about the level of insecurity in the country, where bandits or terrorists can confidently ride into a school and head away students and teachers without being challenged by security forces. Our 36 governors need to wake up from their slumber.
And Steve Bond, 07, it is time for state police. The army can't police the entire country.
Leo Fadaka, Kagara school abduction is a clear indication that those in charge of security have learned nothing from previous abductions. How are we sure there will be no reoccurrence very soon?
And Titus Mondenok, the issue of these terrorists and bandits attacking soft targets, especially school children, is becoming one too many and urgently needs to be tackled headlong. A state of emergency nationwide needs to be activated on security. We are becoming a laughingstock globally security-wise.
Suleiman Babagana, security agents should deploy more preventive mechanisms and not be in a defensive position.
Law Alpha C, this administration no doubt has fought corruption to a standstill, but handicapped the security lives of Nigerians. Onodeku
Bath tweets, the military must look within the system. There is apparent sabotage. Also, stop giving killers and rapists amnesty.
Exactly. And Mutana Farouk tweets, Kagara school abduction. The prosperity of Nigeria is at stake. When the schools become the prime target of these miscreants, recruitment of more security personnel is required, and the economic hardship also need to be mitigated by reducing the price of PMS, VAT, and electricity tariff.
Taufik Olalekon, it is worrisome to hear about the abduction of Kagara government school pupils and staff. It's a slap on the face of our national existence. Government should provide CCTV cameras in all schools and security personnel as well.
Indeed, it's a slap. Zokpia, these bandits will never stop because they know government will negotiate with them as always. We are having government that encourage terrorism. We are yet to see Buhari calling Mieti Allah to order.
Well, we had drawn the curtain on that topic, but just before we get into the second topic, Juman,
yes,
something just occurs. Over the years, there had been questions by various advocacy groups about the utility of security votes.
Yes.
If we had been investing appropriately with the security votes, at least since 1999, would we be in this same situation today?
The whole way, we would have not been in this same situation, Kingsley. We would have gone far ahead of the terrorists and bandits and the bad guys. Unfortunately, the security votes are being misapplied and misappropriated. They are not being used for the purpose. In fact, part of the security votes are supposed to be used for informants, for them to be able to get intelligence. Today, you are not using them. And you can see in the Kagara area, some people have said they have been there for about 4 months, 6 months. And if they have been there, what has happened? These are clear indicators that the security situation in those areas, in the suburbs, marginal communities are broken down. And since people are moving to Kagara town, then there is a need for you to reinforce the security there, first to protect those who have managed to come out from those areas that have been ravished, because those who are not able to make it to Kagara have died. And so those who are there must be protected. And then you try to move out. You see, the thing is that these people don't live off the land. No, they live on the people in the cities.
All right, General Temlong, thanks a lot. As I said, this is a subject matter that we'll have the opportunity of returning to, just to see how we can get a good fix on the insecurity that is rampant in different parts of the country. Now, we're getting ahead with the third installment of our discussion on dousing ethnic and religious tension in the country. General Temlong is still with us. Dr. Kabiru Adamo is also still with us. From our Kaduna Network Center, we're being joined by the Reverend John Joseph Hayab. He is country rep of Global Peace Foundation. The Reverend Hayab, pleasure to have you with us this morning.
Very much, and good morning, Nigerians.
Okay, and then joining us via Zoom from Lokoja, that's the confluence town, Comrade Mukhtar Akosile, is of the National Youth Council of Nigeria. Comrade Akosile, pleasure to have you around.
Yeah, good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, everyone in the studio.
Okay.
You stay with
Yeah, Juma, no, I think we'll start off from Kaduna Network Center. Okay. That just might be. The Reverend John Joseph Hayab, we're talking about ethnic tension. We hear stories of farmers, herders clashes, and the resort now to self-help and the kind of heat that has also been generated, plus, of course, the usual flare-ups involving various religious groups. We started this conversation on Tuesday, and a number of guests have proffered their own solutions as to what we could do as a country so that we focus more on issues of development, peace, and progress. What is your perspective on what needs to be done to get us out of this perpetual mode of ethnic tension and religious animosity?
Yeah, if we want to get out of these divisions that have been created in Nigeria, we have to first admit where we went wrong. Was that how it used to be before? Were Nigerians this divided? Even with the Civil War, was there no some sense of unity in northern Nigeria, in southern Nigeria? Efforts were put in place after the Civil War to unite Nigerians and to bring people together. See, what went wrong that today everybody just talk about his tribe, everybody just talk about his village, everybody just talk about his private identity, not talking about this Nigeria that our fathers fought to unite, this Nigeria that our parents sacrificed their life to make it one. Let me throw you the line of the general when he was speaking in the first or second segment of this program. He keeps saying that I like. He said, let's be honest to ourselves. What went wrong? I think our failure to speak truth to ourselves about where we went wrong, things we did that were not right, is the reason why ethnic tensions and divisions keep growing, expanding all over Nigeria. I've always said this, and I want to repeat here, that it is sad that as deliberately create division among us, dividing us on ethnic line, dividing us on religious line, and any other line you want to mention, purposely to cover the evil they have done to us, the poor governance that they are giving us, and the way they have stolen our culture. Because in this country, people are so divided to the extent that even if someone steals our money, if someone takes away what belongs to us, instead of us confronting him as Nigeria, the first thing you hear is that, no, he's not your tribe. You're accusing him because he's not of your religion. And when it comes to serious issues that collectively as Nigerians we're supposed to address, collectively as Nigerians we're supposed to voice out, we cannot voice out. Earlier in your report from Kagara, I like one part of the report. I like many parts of the report, but let me just cite one. You ask your reporter whether he has get touch with the family of the people who our children were taken away. And he said something that, look, one reverend is taking us to the home of the child that was killed. In other words, when we have crises like this, we are no longer having our different tribes. We no longer talk about religion. We talk about humanity. We talk about our collective togetherness. If we continue to approach our crisis, addressing it as a collective problem, as a collective challenge, we will solve it. But because there is already a seed of division going on all over the country, we even look at our problem from a collective challenge, a problem that we all need to work together to solve, or a problem that we all need to work together to find solution to. We begin to use ethnicity, we begin to use religion or region or certain identities to divide people. We at the Global Peace Foundation preach that human beings are members of one family under God. I'm a pastor. My Bible tells me that when God created the world, he created the world. There was nothing like Christian and Muslim. When God created the world, there was nothing like northern people or southern people. God created humanity. And when we come to the New Testament, where the Bible says, for God so loved the world, the love God had for the world and sent Jesus Christ had no religion, had no boundaries. Where do we get all these boundaries that today have divided us? We can't look at issues objectively. We try to paint it in religion. We try to paint it with ethnicity. And we have so much divide our people. Look at what is happening to our children. Those children don't know all this identity, but they are suffering in the hands of evil people who have taken advantage of our division and are causing pains all over the country.
Reverend John, I'm still staying with you. I've always believed that Nigeria, you know, when it comes to religion or ethnicity, we cannot be divided on that because Nigerians are very religious people. And the slogan, in our diversity lies our strength, does this still apply to this country?
The slogan is there in writing, but in practice, we don't see it. I think that is where I brought up my first argument, that in practice, our leaders have deliberately divided us because they have an agenda that we don't know, or they have deliberately, or political elites have deliberately divided us for a sentiment that we cannot explain. But I've always explained by saying that one, they did that deliberately so that once they steal our Commonwealth, we cannot collectively challenge them and tell them you're wrong. Once they do not perform well in governance, we cannot tell them they're wrong, because when you start challenging them, someone will remind you that, no, you are doing this because the man in governance is not from your tribe, or the man in leadership is not your religion. But a bad governor is a bad governor. A bad president is a bad president. A bad security chief is a bad security chief. So when we need to come back, many years back, there was this love between Christians and Muslims in Kaduna State, where I belong. I used to know that it was a thing of pride for you to go to school, a boarding house in Katsina State or somewhere in far north Nigeria, and come back and tell people of your village about one TJ you met in school, one Salisu you met in school, one Hamisu you met in school. And Hamisu will also go back to his place and tell them about one John he met in school, one Joseph, they were their classmates, or one Esther, or one Grace. Today, it is not the case. There are issues surrounding this, but I want us to look at how the relationship then was good. They went out of this country under the federal government scholarship or whatever scholarship. They school together, get trained, and come back and serve as Nigerians. But today, these same privileged people are telling their children something different about their neighbors. They are telling their children not to trust. And I belong to a group that should also be blamed, the religious group. Most of us preachers are not honest, because a preacher who comes out to the public and say, no, Christians and Muslims are brothers, but go to his mosque or to his church and tell them not to trust these ones because they are kafiri, or not to trust this one because they are infidels or they are unbelievers. Such a preacher is not doing well to the country. Such a preacher is not helping the nation. Such a preacher is not even projecting or displaying God that he claimed to be preaching in the right way, because God loves everybody. You remember the by Desmond Tutu, that God is not a Christian. God is God. God is for every human being. God is for the man you do not share the same tribe with. So we must learn to embrace one another, working together as members of one family. The blood that runs in our veins do not have a tribe, do not have a religion.
The Reverend John Hayab, thank you very much there for your comments. Let's bring in now Comrade Mukhtar Akosile of the National Youth Council of Nigeria. Our perspective on this segment, Odare was going to focus on the role of the youth. And you listen to the illustration by the Reverend Hayab. He said, look, and we've had this in the 3 days that we've been discussing this subject, that the younger generation would appear they are being socialized into these ethnic and religious fault lines, a sense of otherness. No. She's a Muslim. No. He's a Christian. No. He's not from my state. The other person is also not from my state. Some young persons have no belief anymore in some of the institutions and programs that were created for purposes of the national unity, such as the NYSC. From the youth perspective, quite aside from the misuse of the social media, what do you think needs to be done for us to deconstruct the mentality that is solidifying about our ethnic and religious fault lines?
Thank you for having me. It is a fact that religious and ethnic dichotomy, it's very worrisome in the context of the projects of building Nigeria of today. But as young people and leaders of youth in Nigeria, we have continuously advocated for the fact that institutions of government that have been established to unite Nigerians should be strengthened. I'm happy you mentioned the National Youth Service Corps, which was established in 1972 or thereabout. That institution is supposed to be strengthened. It is an institution that is supposed to unite young Nigerians from the West, from the South, from anywhere in the country together. I could remember when I did my youth service course some years ago, the outside guy, the Igbo guys I met, we are still very good friends till now. But if we finish from NYC and young people are trying to secure a job and they say there's an institution called federal character, and when you see a commissioner or a chairman in such a government institution holding unemployment, holding onslaught of jobs to its own constituent alone, where other people are supposed to benefit, then what is the benefit of such a federal character? When you have government employment or government appointment that does not reflect the principle of a such federal character, so which tension are we trying to douse? The issue of state origin, the institute of I come from here, I come from there, should be eradicated. If you want to get the job or you want to be placed in governance of government position in Nigeria, it should be on merit. Merit should come first before you think or talk about where you come from, where you belong to. So in trying to build unity and sincerity of purpose within young people, we need to address issues that divides us in principle, not in politics. For instance, we are talking about unemployment. Oil is not sufficient to create wealth for us in Nigeria. We are supposed to diversify on agriculture. How many programs has our government put in place for such a purpose? Now, let me give you an example. There is a community policing. A community policing is supposed to cater for the security of our environment. And the principle of community policing is that you should know your neighbor so that your neighbor should know people who come to perpetrate violence within the environment. But to our surprise, people who were even employed or who were appointed in the constabulary police, as such to say, were even on basis on who knows who. It doesn't reflect the principle of the community policing. I am on the board of FCT Community Policing. I do not even know the selection of the process. If I stay in this environment and I cannot be given the opportunity to bring people who are in that vicinity to work as a constabulary police, then what is the purpose when you now go and bring someone who has just came from Lagos, who has just came from Edo, and give him uniform and say you are a constabulary police? Then what are you constabulary? So when we talk about involvement of youth in dousing tension, give those youth, give them the opportunity to take their future in their hands. We are all gathered in Kogi State for a program yesterday. It is also because we want to unite this nation. For example, in Lagos State, you see commissioners that are not Lagosians. You see essays that are not from Lagos. It is also for the purpose of unity. It is for the purpose of uniting. But when you say you finish job and you are in Federal Character, you are looking for job. There's an allegation that the chairman of Federal Character Commission recently gave a job to herself, half of the stuff that came to her constituent alone. And all the other commissioners wrote to Mr. President. And what has been done? It has been killed. We have not heard about Mr. President or any other person looking into that kind of allegation. Then what do you want young people to learn from such a thing? So it is very unfortunate that Kagara schools adoption happened. I sympathize with the state government. I sympathize with young people of Nigeria, and I sympathize with the families of those that lost their life. But we should not wait until such an incident happens before proactive measures are being taken. Let us put young people in leadership position so as to get the real to put them in shape so they can join hand in making sure that this Nigeria is better for us all. So that is my opinion on dowsing detention. NYSC should be strengthened. Federal Character Commission and other agencies of government that deals with issue of ethnicity or religion should be strengthened, and our religious leaders should be called together once in a while to give them seminars on how to relate to their people. I cannot remember when last that Nigerian, or maybe there's an essay to Mr. President on religion to say, okay, we are calling on all religious leaders to come to. I know in those days, like 5, 6, 7 years ago, I used to see Reverend Puka and the chief imam of the National Mosque coming together to provide solutions on how we can harmonize ourselves within the religious tolerance. But now I cannot remember when such conferences were held. I also remember in those days that all traditional rulers will come together and hold seminar. The only thing I see now is traditional rulers going to the villa one after the other to see Mr. President. Is it Mr. President that's supposed to come and hold peace to talk to you? They are veterans. They are people who can sit down and provide solutions within themselves. So we should not politicize this issue. If we want to kill the issue of sentiment within ethnic and religion, we should nail it straight. We should not be politicized about the project Nigeria because it's affecting us. Our future is not secure. We cannot move on the road. We cannot open our eyes. We cannot close our eyes and sleep. We are tired. Nigeria government should come to our head. The youth are not happy about the happenings in the country. We are not just happy.
All right. Akosile, thank you very much for your views. Just to indicate that this is a live program, the Nigerian Television Authority cannot independently confirm the allegation you made about the Federal Character Commission in terms of the slots that were given out for appointments and then the petition that was also drafted, according to you, to the president. We have no way of independently verifying that, and so we will resile out of that illustration that you gave. Otherwise, the other points you've made are noted. All right, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the NTA. We're going to take a short break. When we return, we'll come back to our two guests in the studios to also get their views.
Thanks for joining us, and this is still Good Morning Nigeria. We're discussing dousing ethnic and religious tension in Nigeria. Dr. Kabir, when Nigeria was agitating for independence, most of the agitators were not up to 30 years old. They fought for Nigeria's independence, and we got it. Now, our youths are there as political talks, as miscreants, menace to society, and I begin to ask the question, even with the initiatives out there by President Muhammadu Buhari to tackle youth's restiveness, where are the youths in the scheme of things in this country?
Thank you, Junmai. When we celebrated our 60th independence anniversary, the theme of that celebration was togetherness. And instinctively, what came to my mind then was, it's good, it's a good platform, but my recommendation is to take that togetherness forward. There are three things that the world is talking about at the moment: diversity, equity, and inclusion, or you could put DEI. Now, we need to take that forward. When you ask where the youths are, I believe Nigerian youth, the majority of them are hardworking. Is it not a Nigerian youth that created a fintech that was sold for how many? It's the Nigerian youth. Yes. When Mark Zuckerberg came to Lagos, came to Nigeria, he saw the potential in Nigerian youth. So there are multitudes of Nigerian youth that are doing well. But there is a component of the Nigerian youth that we've neglected.
And they say Nigerian youth designed Fort Edge too.
Exactly. And he's now actually a minister or heading a parastatal in Nigeria. That same person that designed that fort is here in Nigeria. Yes, he's heading the automotive, I've forgotten the name of that organization. He's from Sokoto State, and someone I know quite well.
Jelani
Aliyu. So we have youth that have potential, but for us to bring them into the mainstream of our industry, we need to do those three things I mentioned. Manage our diversity, inclusion by empowering them, and then, of course, diversity, inclusion, and equity. If we want to douse the tension, those are the ways to go. Once we're able to do these three things, I believe the tension will be doused. But if a certain population, segment of the population, continue to amass wealth at the detriment of the majority, then frankly, that ethnic tension will continue to rise.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kabir Adamu. General Temlong. Youth is a cardinal requirement for enlistment into the armed forces. And it's often been said that in general, the Nigerian military continues to represent and demonstrate unity. What are the lessons that the general populace can learn from the military so that we can douse these ethnic and religious tensions?
Well, thank you very much. I think part of the lessons that we can learn from the military is that once you get into the academy, because we come in based on quota from the states, but you are given equal opportunities. The quota ends from entrance. So what do you do? Your performance itself starts propelling you from that area. Nobody cares whether you are from Edo, Plateau, and the rest. And so I think we need to give that equal opportunity to the Nigerian youth. The conspiracy by the political elite to throw them into touting is a result of corruption. And unless we deal with that corruption, we'll continue to have the youth being paid as touts, being paid as, if you go to the social media, it's sometimes you almost lose hope. But the Nigerian youth, like we said, are very vibrant. They are creative. They can be matched with any youth anywhere in the world, but we have stifled them, and we have not been able to mentor them. We have not been able to provide the space for them. You see, our grandparents are still competing for space with the youth. And I think it's time for them to have taken the back seat, to have seen that those they mentored are equal to what they have done. So I think leadership as a whole is about mentoring and handing over. And I believe that our elders now should start thinking of taking the back seat. They shouldn't be carrying their CVs. They shouldn't be going to the ballot box, being on the ballot box and the rest. We should be able to give them the way. General Gawan said it, the group of them that fought the civil war and led Nigeria were in their 20s and 30s, just like you said, the independence group. And it meant that what has changed in the Nigerian youth? Nothing per se. Rather, in fact, they are more educated now than those of them who were there then. So we must be able to harness these resources that we have and use it for national development. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, General John Temlong, first commander of the Multinational Joint Task Force and former president of the Alumni Association of the Nigerian Defense College and security consultant. Thank you so much for coming.
It's my pleasure.
We also thank Dr. Kabir Adamu, our regular security risks management expert. Thank you, as usual, for coming on Good Morning Nigeria. We thank you for your input. We also thank our correspondent in Kagara, Abdullahi Mohammed, for giving us an insight over the situation now. And Comrade Mukhtar Akwesili, Vice President, National Youth Council of Nigeria, thank you for joining us. And Reverend John Joseph Hayab, Country Representative, Global Peace Foundation. It's been a pleasure having you on Good Morning Nigeria. And that's the show for today. Do you know, join us again tomorrow. I am Juma Yusuf.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo.